What's good, everybody, and welcome back for another Power Book 4 Force Season 3 recap review show here with your good folks at the Culture Collective, where tonight we're going to be tackling, as I said, episode 302 titled A Seat at the Table. Man, a lot to cover with this episode. But this was the episode I was looking forward to, obviously, thus far, because as I mentioned, week one, episode one, a lot of untangling of the spaghetti. But now I feel like we're really starting to see the stakes that are at hand with with this season. And this is the final season. So, we want to go off on a good note in terms of this series. Who knows what it means for the characters. We might got some minor Easter eggs and implications because of this episode. And what do you know? Vic out here making a power move. It's been the first one of 3 seasons. But nonetheless, Lucas, how you doing tonight, brother?
Hey man, I'm just sitting here home worrying about Kate because she done went back to New York. New York ain't never did Kate good. Never did Kate good. Just gotta pray for what traveling mercies for Kate.
Yeah.
Goes back to New York.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I don't even want to get into the timeline thing, but Kate being in New York is obviously going to be interesting. That is where
because it brings up such an interesting question because we know what happened previously on Power Book Ghost. And Kate was in New York when Tariq went to go see her. Like, that is interesting now.
And is that right? Is that, I don't get into the timeline stuff.
Yeah, we don't pay attention to timelines at this point because we don't know. No one knows the timelines, but definitely last season, she was in New York when Tariq went to go see her.
Right. And so what we do know, or at least what we do assume, is that we do know Kate was in there when Tariq went to see her. But we also know that Tariq made a phone call that was pointing towards Tommy and kind of considering that that's going to rally them two together at some point again. Who knows? But we'll see if we get there. But it'd be interesting to see if they slice that in there at all. It's already been shot.
Would be interesting.
Yeah, I think the one that the Power Universe doesn't do is actually give you the connective tissue. Say like, hey, this came from this show. Here's a complete moment from it, just so you know. They let us do all the hard work. But nonetheless,
us and the Power Book Facebook folks who, according to them, D-Mac is Tariq's long lost cousin, and all this other stuff is about to happen, and that's who Tariq was calling on the phone was D-Mac.
Starting this episode off with Vic getting waterboarded because Tommy's sort of declaration that he owned him wasn't good enough for him in the parking lot. So he said, you know what, let's take it back to Diamond's barbershop down in the basement, and we're going to make sure for sure that you got the picture here. But anyway, like you said, this was a measure of interrogation, but also to put a period at the end of that sentence to ensure that you are going to be my inside man with the Fed. So when I call, you answer. And first thing for you first is you need to go visit your sister because you need to tell her that CBI is going to be running the Viagra Triangle, which we know that to be the clubs that that Claudia was overseeing along with her girlfriend, which is interesting because in case you didn't know what Claudia still had available beyond the porch, yes, that was her big thing. She was moving drugs in the club, and that really got her popping bright and early. And with her not being there, it looks like business is still as usual, and Elise is keeping it running. But nonetheless, as Elise said later on in this episode, this is her family stuff, and maybe she not the face, and maybe she don't have the brain power, maybe she don't, have that Flynn lineage. But at the end of the day, it's hers and her family's, and there's a lot of fail safes in place that she made it very clear to Shanti, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, she says, listen, when I call, you pick up and get your snitch ass out of here. And it looks like the two of them did enjoy that. A little bit of bonding between Diamond and Tommy there. But Diamond, for one of many times this episode, questioned, do you think this plan is going to work? And it was responded that, I know Claudia was the one who sent the Marquez Cartel, very confident, but also very accurate. And Diamond thinks maybe we should let Che know, but well, I agree with this one wholeheartedly. I think it's best. The less he knows is better. But anyway, Maria has some intel. Maria is shown to be very valuable to the street stuff, and that should be no surprise. That should be no surprise.
She's been in it her entire life.
Yeah, and her family. Let's not forget about the whole family was, grandma or their mother, or I forget who she was. The OG,
grandma.
Yeah, OG, yeah, grandma would come there, and she knew what it was. She established, the everybody's sort of position in one way or another. Everybody was seeing what was going on. But at the end of the day, it says, listen, we're going to make sure that Ortega and his crew, they're going to learn. They're making a play on them. So first and foremost, this is also important where it seemed as if Tommy was still going to go behind Maria's deal and kill Miguel, but he says, I never said that I wasn't going to, I promised I wasn't going to kill him, but I didn't say I was going to take food off his table. So we're going to mess Miguel up by the whole supply and demand tactic. And bringing the Albanians back to us. We cut off his product, then there you go. So listen, the plan hasn't changed, and that's what we're going to do going forward. I throw to you to say, Tommy laid it out, the whole plan from beginning to end, made it cut and clear to Diamond. And Diamond, I think, the reason why I like Diamond, intelligent brother there, I don't think there's a sign of weakness. I don't think there's a sign of ignorance. I don't think there's a sign of anything in terms of asking questions. You ask a question, that's just because you just want to confirm what it is. And there's many times in this episode that he's asking Tommy about this decision. And the first time I was like, damn, he's just not tapped in. Like he's somehow not he's disconnected from the things that's happening. But what I realized is that he is collecting all of the information. He is ensuring before he making an emotional decision, which everybody around him does. He's making sure he got it very clear. This is what your plan is, Tommy. This is what you think the plan is going to execute. This is how you feel this plan is going to execute. So the fact that when he makes his move, which I think you were kind of alluding to last week, that he has all the information available in that hand to make the most concise move, that there's no unpredictability in terms of everything. In a way, he's really tapping into Tommy's mind in a way I don't even think Tommy's even understanding. I ain't going to go as far as saying this is ghost-like, but sure.
No, it's not even...
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
I would say we see it in a different way here.
Okay.
I don't see him necessarily tapping into Tommy's mind. I believe it's other people getting in his head. And now it's becoming a trust issue with Tommy.
Okay.
And it all started from Jannard. Like Jannard planted the seed, and just like Shanti's keep on telling him, just keep on talking to Diamond, get closer to Diamond. Right now, he's been manipulated. And they're playing him against Tommy, and he doesn't fully see it yet. But we also got to keep in mind, Diamond is extremely trigger shy because what happened last season.
Yeah.
And I did love later on in the episode when he's in the barbershop and we get a very quick flash to remind us what he did in that barbershop last season and how he was shook. And he's trigger shy because of that.
Yeah.
And that's what's now making him question everything with Tommy, because Jannard is planting the seeds in his head for him to question it. I still believe what I said in the first review. I said that eventually he's going to turn. I think the seeds were laid out from that meeting with Vic when he was waterboarding Vic, when it seemed like a happy moment. But as it progressed on, you can see like seeds of doubt was being laid between him and Tommy. And eventually we know Tommy. Tommy's not going to deal with that very well. Eventually Tommy's going to take what happens in this episode as a referendum on who I need to be around. And I think that's when this gets scary for everybody involved. Because the last time we saw Tommy feel that he didn't need to trust anybody in Chicago, he just killed everybody he ran into.
I like that. Feels kind of manipulative to my own thoughts here. No, but I still stand on the fact that, like, I think Diamond is a smart brother, and
far from dumb.
he's collecting the information around him, and we'll see how he sort of uses it. It's interesting.
I would say it's more of a family thing. I think that's what it is more than anything with Diamond. Is that separation between him and Jannard? He never liked it.
Yeah.
But Jannard wanted to play power moves against him. He had no choice. But now that his brother's back in the fold, like, he's gonna think about the kid who held everything down when he was in jail. Like, in the end, that's still his brother.
Yeah.
We said all the time between Tommy and Ghost, like, no matter what happened, as long as you didn't come out, they would try to kill each other. But if someone on the outside tried to come after one of them, they form right back together and they will get rid of you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we get Claudia and Vic now. As Vic goes to see her in jail, and then I don't know, Vic coming here talk about business first. You know, it's interesting to see the dynamic between the two of them, because I felt like this was the first time thus far in this season, and for a couple of episodes, shall I say, even crossing back into last season, that we seen Vic confident. Like, Tommy gave him the orders, and he damn sure went in there, and he didn't look as nervous as he did last week. But you know, the Vic stands like, listen, business first, and I need you to make it happen with the Viagra Triangle, because this is Vic telling him that there needs to be a working relationship with CBI. Yeah. And as Claudia says, those clubs belong to me. But at the end of the day, he says, like, they're not dumb. They're not going to go head to head with the cartel. Facts. But at the end of the day, I think there was enough threat to Claudia and her well-being, especially since she barely survived from last season, which I now am starting to understand why they played it the way they did. That a threat on her life seems to be the most important thing in terms of winning her over on any decision making or any convincing. And that's why he says, listen, Claudia, your time is running up in here, so you need to watch your back. Because while she did say that, what are you, Tommy's bitch now? And I know that struck a nerve to Vic. He was able to bounce back and says, watch your back. You'll be someone's bitch in here soon enough. What did you make of this conversation between the two of them? Or is there any else additionally to add to what I said?
The only thing I thought through this entire conversation is, those rooms are normally bugged and listened to because there's no y'all in there talking extremely reckless.
They singing loud in there. Yeah, nah.
I didn't even have to bring in a cigarette and a Coke. They just let it all go. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. She's in custody. There's no lawyer present. They're taping all of this. Yeah. So she like, well, you need to do the Viagra Triangle because that's where drugs moves at. So you need to get in with CBI, and they know you tried to kill them. So you've admitted to selling drugs in the club. You just admitted to attempting to murder somebody. and then Vic kind of mentioned that they attempted to murder you. Like it. I think when they have these discussions, we need to at least pretend like a lawyer is present. Like, at least whenever Ghost or Tariq was in jail and they talked reckless, it was always a lawyer present there. So you couldn't say everything was recorded. Like that. That's the only thing that got me when he was talking to Claudia the whole time. I'm like, all that stuff should be recorded now. This is crazy that they're even doing this. Unless in the end, it plays as a setup. Which you never know with Tommy and his long game of him telling Vic to go see your sister.
Yeah.
And in the end, he said, Tommy knows you tried to kill him. He said nothing about Tommy doing anything illegal. And then it flipped from Tommy knows you tried to kill him to you need to work with CBI. That's not Tommy.
True. That's true. That is absolutely true. Oh, man. Moving on next, we get Tommy and Diamond. They go to Miguel's warehouse and they lay lighter fluid all around. And the first thing I thought to myself was like, all right, now these two henchmen in there, if they don't smell the lighter fluid, I'm out the Kirk. But anyway, we spoke it into existence. And this segment, this moment of this episode is brought to you by Michael Bay. Because while we're on a television Michael Bay budget, that slow walk to the explosion in the background. I mean, if that wasn't Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, I didn't know who it was.
Hey, If that was the big mansion blow up in the Bad Boys 2, that was unnecessary. That's what we got here.
Nope. Listen, they set the joint on fire and had no urgency getting up out of there. But they did what they had to do. They had the cinematic walk out, and now
then we get the Gerard Butler movie Flames. Them Jones
kind
of look real, but not fully real.
Yeah. Hey, that's hilarious. But then they said now they're gonna wait to the Albanians to call. Now, I honestly, let's just call it what it is. The D-Mac and Marshall connection has been some of the best moments in the entire series. Yeah. But at the end of the day, y'all old heads like Lucas are gonna look at this scene and y'all are absolutely gonna cringe. But I got to tell you, they nailed this, because if this ain't YN or to the T,
idiocy is the best way to put it.
But anyway, D-Mac still complaining about first and foremost, D-Mac is alive. So D-Mac got dropped off. So let's just call that first. But D-Mac still complaining because Diamond brushed him off and Jannard sent him to sit his ass down, essentially. And Marshall makes it. And it was cool to see Marshall back as well, too. And obviously those two are friends and they've worked on other projects together. So they're just going to run through scenes like this easily. But anyway, Marshall makes it very clear that, well, just for the record, we, as in CBI, aren't even supposed to be seen with your ass. That's how big of a liability he is. Tommy comes knocking at the door. He already knows that D-Mac is in there. He finds him in the closet. Even though Marshall tried to stand in front of him. And yes, we get Tommy making a brother reference, which we know is Ghost. Yeah, I love the Ghost moments. But anyway, first thing D-Mac says when he gets out of the closet, he said, "This isn't school." He says, "I ain't cutting my dreads and I ain't going to school." But then Tommy lets him know that, listen, you wasn't built for CBI. And with that, you're not getting a seat at the table, title call. As long as I'm in, you're out. And we get this fake, because we all know it's fake. D-Mac saying he doesn't want to be in CBI no more. And he says, "I'm tired of y'all playing with me." And then Tommy says, "One day you're going to thank me for this." Anyway, the moment that Tommy rolls out, Marshall's like, "Wait, you really out for real?" He says, "Hell nah. Listen, I got to pull off a boss move to show them I deserve to be in it." And Jannard's going to handle Tommy. And Marshall makes it very clear that the last time you made a move like that, that's exactly how you got in the situation you in. But anyway, he says, like, yeah, cool and whatnot. But last time that ain't work, but money's going to talk. And I got a score for us already. Now, before I let you give your thoughts on the scene, first thing I thought was, am I tripping? Or he was on TikTok last episode, and I thought they were just in the dorm, or there was some white boys doing some random shit or whatever.
It looked like some white boys doing some random stuff.
Yeah,
I'm assuming this plays into the random stuff. Yeah,
but going into Chinatown and going to a craps game is way different from what you saw on TikTok, and it can't be the same because there's no way they would have showed that on TikTok. And
not a chance in hell.
I'm not the highest grain of weed here, but I can ensure that ain't no Joe Smo get invited to a game like that and then go on TikTok and boast about where they went, and or do the Chinese and whoever just allow people to just come buy into these games. There's a lot here that I said that scene really irked me. But before we get to that scene,
just focus on YN's version of Family Matters between Marshall and D-Mac. Oh, this little nigga here is so annoying, but that's what makes it so realistic. Kid, they think like he's talking. Oh man, like I gotta get in no matter what. I'm gonna get in. It's like, but you tried this already. Last time you tried this, we saw what happened. But I did find it funny that Tommy tried to be the voice of reason when Tommy has never been the voice of reason for anybody.
Well,
but
Tariq,
all of a sudden,
when
was he the voice of reason for Tariq?
When Ghost will always lie to him, Tommy would always keep it 100. I would say that.
Tommy told the truth to Tariq. Yeah. Tommy at no point in time told Tariq, you shouldn't be in the game at all. Like, get out the game. He never did that for Tariq at all.
I guess, yeah, I guess.
Like, and that's what I said. That's the difference here. Is he's just trying his best. I think it steals the guilt from when D-Mac got shot, and with JP, and that's the reason why he really does not want D-Mac anywhere near this business that he got. But also, he's 100% right. The young kid ain't built for it. He thinks like a reckless kid of, oh, if I get this and I get that, then everything will be fine. It's like, buddy, you're going down the slope that you have no business going down. And then when Tommy leaves and he decides to tell Marshall, I found a lick because money talks. When has money talked with Tommy? Tommy could care less about that.
Yeah.
Tommy's going to pay way more attention that you're doing something that he told you not to do. And then, as we're going to get to later on in the episode, like, no one in CBI wants him around at all. Like, we know what their end game is for D-Mac. And I think from audience perspective, that's why you want him to, like, dude, brighten up just a little bit here. Like, you're thinking like a young kid of thinking fast money, fast cars. I'm going to get my girl. I'm going to do all of this if I have money, when that's not the real prize here. Yeah. And that's what Tommy's trying to tell you. Like, dude, you're just not built for this life at all. And it's irritating, but it's going to be fun to see which road this goes down, because I think Marsh is going to end up being his voice of reason more than anybody else.
That makes sense. Typically how it is. But yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely eyed in to see how that develops. So Stacey Marks and her team now, and they're just giving an update into everything. Tommy's bug in his apartment's dead. Vic hasn't really given him anything. Ortega and them isn't cooperating. But we get a new lesson in opioids, as the cart fentanyl, something I never heard of, was deemed as the cause of death with Merkovich, which is a poisoning that is 10 times more potent than the fentanyl on the streets. And I looked it up, and they said the cart fentanyl is 10,000 times more potent than morphine, and 100 times more potent than fentanyl. So
yes, I've heard of cart fentanyl, and not me. Oh, that's the angle we're going here. Wow, that is crazy. Because you could just touch fentanyl and it gets into your bloodstream and kill you. Yeah. Like, I didn't think they were going to go to that level, because if that was supposed to be cart fentanyl, there's no way the lawyer and him wouldn't be dead. So I'm like, wait. That little folding it up in paper is not securing that at all. Not in a pure form, not in the form that it was in. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that's an interesting like swing to go there and say that's cart fentanyl. Like, I'd have never thought they'd have used that because of the way it was delivered to him. Yeah. If it was delivered in a little baggie or something, I can understand. But a piece of paper? No. Mm-mm.
It is what it is, but I guess it just show you that the cartel isn't one to play with here, because they could have went the easy route and they said, nah, we're going to make this as lethal as possible. We're going to make it overkill 101. Absolutely.
Overkill 101. Yeah.
It seems like this is what you would call a nuke with drugs. But Stacey Marks, ding dong, she just got served divorce papers. And while the crew was asking, is there anything that they can do? She replies back and says, your job. But then they get a call saying Claudia requesting a meeting. And then we get Jannard and Shanti, and Jannard is basically like, listen, man, if you get shot at, you're supposed to call me. I shouldn't be hearing it from the streets and Raheem. But Shanti says, like, they can't take a bitch out like me or Tommy, apparently. But anyway, they agree that they need to stick to the long game. Want to get an update on D-Mac and say they got him, had to do the big brother talking and whatnot. And they said that we need to get a talk with Shay, whatever. Che. But this is interesting because it's the dynamic between the two of them is also kind of interesting at times, because we obviously know that Jannard loves her, and I think he values her, and he looks up to her as his queen, and he's a little off-putting with her at times because she says we need a seat. And Jannard was like, yeah, well, we're not bosses, so we actually can't get there, which I thought was a very honest but truthful thing. And she should know that. And I think she thinks this brute force is going to somehow, some way land him up there. But of course, she has a strategy because she's like, well, cool. This is why you're going to keep manipulating Diamond, and then we'll eventually take him out. And then that would assume your spot, which I keep thinking, Shanti, now how does that get you a spot there? But
you ain't figured it out yet?
Well, I guess. I guess so.
Obvious. By the time we got to the last scene, it should have been blatantly between them two. It should be blatantly obvious how she's going to get there here.
Yeah,
it has been affirmed to me in this episode, this wonderful episode here.
Let's see it.
And for lack of a better term here for people, I don't want to offend people by using this term, but Jannard is the bitch in the relationship because Shanti is the man here. So yes, Jannard's going to get up in power, but she's just going to take over. Like she is the person who runs everything here in their relationship. And I think that's the way she's always seen it. She loves him, but she does not respect him as a man. That is clear as day. Because the way she talks to Jannard, like you would talk to someone who you just know is subservient to you.
Yeah.
Like for him to even say, like, hey, yeah, that's for bosses though. How are we going to get into it? And she looked at him in disgust when he said it. And then she answered the question. Like, you just get close with Diamond, and then you'll be at the meeting. Yeah. And then we'll get the seat at the table. Yeah. Like she's playing it perfectly. And by the end of this episode, I think you kind of get to see their dynamic play out even more to understand why she feels the way she does about Jannard. And why in the hierarchy, and I do love camera angles, as you always point out. It's some camera angles in that last scene when you see them two together and you like, oh, they are really playing this, that Jannard is below her thing. Even on camera angles, if you're paying close enough attention to it.
Boy. Boy. I know, buddy. Well, get ready, folks. Black Twitter is getting loaded for this one because that scene, I just that quickly I forgot. Well, not immediately watching, I was thinking, oh, they're gonna have fun with this. But yeah, you're right. We'll be there. We'll be there in a minute. But anyway, we get Tommy and Maria. They out getting pizza and they're having a little cute date, even though they got reinforcements around them. And she wants to know why do we need that? And quickly. And not without any bit of a moment to breathe, a drive-by occurs, Bones get shot. And when all of this is happening, I think the quickest way to really put this into perspective is that, we see that the cartel's on them, watching their every move. Yeah. We see the cartel did not care that Maria was there. Now that's interesting. It was nothing discussed this episode. But if Maria is being shot at, Mike? Yeah. Well, I am smelling bad boys more and more.
I said it. I said it. Eventually, that's going to play its way out. It's going to play, and it's going to be because of her. Something's going to happen to her, and at that point, when it does happen, it's going to make them two team up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also think this thing was also to show that this is the first time in an established relationship, because we had it with what's the girl in the Liliana. We saw it kind of with Liliana when her and Tommy was trying to establish something, but here Tommy's in a relationship and now he's in one with a woman who does not flinch under any of this.
Not only just that too, she doesn't flinch, but she also adds value. She called the plays. That's like, in a situation of Tommy saying we can't go to the hospital because it's going to be a bad look. He knows what his woman's skills is, and even him under the circumstance didn't even sort of derive the plan of saying she could do this, but she called the plan and was like, "Yeah, no, I got this. Don't worry about it. Let's get them back to the apartment, and I'll get it taken care of." And that's what happened. So when all this is happening, she's stitching them back together. He's there checking on her, like, where your head at, and then she asks, wait, do you think my brother is the one who sent them? He says, nah, I was the Marquez Cartel. They did get a good look at the shooter. And her declaration said, I'm always going to show up for you. And that's when Diamond and Jannard shows up. And this is where Tommy basically lays out, up to security. We gotta have everything on lock now because they're coming in hot. We also need to put people on Maria. And Jannard is being tasked to find a shooter. And he said, although this isn't an invite for you to come back. And he kind of laughs it off, but then Diamond's like, yeah, no, go do that, Jay. So there's really a lot, but a lot really sort of boiling up right here. But I think, again, the biggest takeaway is that Maria adds value. She thought it might have been her brother, but it ends up not being her brother. It says it's the Marquez Cartel. It's also clear that Tommy folks got eagle eyes because even in the midst of getting shot at, they was able to identify a shooter. She helps get Bones back. And when it came down to assigning, roles or tasks here, well, Jannard gets the short end of the stick. Go stake out who did this. And why he tried to laugh it off, like, yeah, that's below me. Time was like, nah.
No, it ain't.
But you know what, though? In all due respect, I think he's protecting his brother right there. Because while Jannard wants to get out there and get back to shooting back or whatever it may be, we always got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is still the cartel we're talking about. And I don't know who said it in this episode. Oh, I know who said it later on. But it says the cartel, they're going to always come back. Anyway, it's 2025 and the cartel is still alive and thriving. And that's just it. You cut one head off in Hydra, another one grows.
Easily grows there in its place.
Yes. Yeah, so in a way, like, I get it. And I'm also like, yeah, you don't want your brother to get in the heat of a retaliation because of Tommy. Go take the easy job here.
Do you think it's that he doesn't want his brother to get into that, or is it the disrespect that Tommy keeps showing that he just doesn't want to get involved in that yet? Because Tommy's coming from a place where Diamond and Jannard weren't together.
Yeah,
like we went through whole last season where Jannard is never around, and him and Diamond are on horrible terms with one another. And Tommy is treating Jannard like any dude who we let come back in after he tried to betray us.
Yeah.
And Diamond is starting to treat Jannard like my brother again.
Yeah.
I think that's the dynamic here that plays out. Because like, go ahead, do it, Jay. Like, just end this now because I know where this is going to go because I know how Tommy is. Like, Tommy's the moment Tommy told him, don't take this as an invitation to come back here. That's letting you know up front, I don't like you.
Yeah.
But then there's also another dynamic playing out at the exact same time that we'll talk about later on in this episode too. That I think that's also playing a huge portion in the way Diamond is acting, and definitely how he's acting when it pertains to Tommy talking to Jannard.
Yeah. I just thought about something. One, I really love the Liliana character and how they were able to integrate her from, coming from the original flagship show into Force. And again, I'm just eating my own words. They did have like minor flashbacks from the original Power to her. So, and I just want to see more of that, But you know what I realized? She hasn't been in anything since being on Force. And I think she's a fantastic actor. And, I know Hollywood is in shambles at times and people trying to get jobs and bookings, but I have to just go off on a limb and say, like, man, I would love to see her on something else very soon. Cause like what a force she was, pun intended, as Liliana on Power Book 4 Force, Aubrey Esperanza. It'd be interesting to see.
It is more surprising that she hasn't been in anything else.
Yeah. Just jobs, man. It's jobs, man. It's definitely nothing against the acting because she was phenomenal.
No, not at all. Hey, you
crazy.
Never know. She may pop up in some independent stuff, and then maybe that's her angle. Maybe she's a more serious actress, and that's why you haven't really seen her in a lot of stuff. Some can be like a little selective at times of what they doing.
I don't know. I got a whole thought about that, and I could just say, like, I think independents are thriving. I think a lot more people are showing their craft in it, and I think there is high value in it. I mean, you're a critic. Some of the biggest films of the year have been independent films.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe she wanted to take a break. That could also be it.
Could be. Could be. Yeah.
Because I think we talked about it in the first season. Like, she was coming off of a long run television show.
True that, yeah.
A main network show where she was a main character on it for what, 6 years was Blind Spot on? Yeah. So, and then she came into force to rehash the little role she had in Power. So she may be like, look, I am good for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, maybe she playing behind the scenes work. You never know.
Yeah, family time or personal time, whatever it may be. But anyway, I'd love to see her back on something soon.
Definitely.
So Claudia and Stacy march now to the meeting after the call, and Stacy's like, "Well, what happened to fuck the feds?" She's like, "Nah, I said fuck flipping on the Marquez Cartel, but I am here to help you take down Tommy." And she says, "I have an in with CB. I have an in with him and CBI. Who do you think her in was right here? Because I said Vic. I don't think I was right.
I could think of.
I literally.
Who else could the in be? It ain't Chanae.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because it's like Vic came and laid his cards down to basically have control over Claudia and the Viagra triangle. And she
automatically think they gave her an in to CBI.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
that's
what?
Crazy.
But at the end of this conversation, what did come from it is Claudia did convince Stacy that she can deliver Tommy Egan to her one way or another.
Don't take much.
But I did love the idea that she brought up, like, what do you think this can do for you and your career? And she stood on business. Stacy said, like, nah, I need a cartel conviction.
Cartel is what does it.
Thank you, power writers, for letting the most long-standing powerism come to an end. The Fed isn't obsessed with the St. Patrick or the Egan.
She's still obsessed with Egan. She still wants him.
I mean, not she knows she can use him, but not to the degree that nothing else mattered. Not her promotion opportunity. The marriage thing is interesting because we're going to come to that, but it is still focused that, like, yeah, maybe we can get the smaller fish as well too, although he's considered the biggest, drug dealer in Chicago. But the cartel is still the utmost priority for her. I like that because it always makes sense that in regards to, it was forced. When I was thinking about this last week, and I kept saying, what show was it? It was forced. I'm like, why are they so pressed over Tommy as if the Flynn's isn't right there? the way bigger organization.
None of the rest of them matter. It's just this one white boy who came to Chicago, and all of a sudden he's the number one vote. Not CBI now.
Yeah.
Who is the other? Literally, she told you I have an in with CBI. That should tell you they're still a huge criminal organization. Nope.
Yeah.
She just had. It's the same reason J. Jonah Jameson never asks for pictures of the Avengers, and it's only Spider-Man. Like that is her focus. That is her focus here. She made a deal with Claudia strictly for Tommy. No other reason.
She did.
And she's obsessed with that man.
And she used the angle of, like, listen, Tommy made us both look like idiots and got away with it. So yes, the Spider-Man reference is very accurate here. But anyway, she says, listen, Stacey says, like, if this goes sideways, you're gonna spend the rest of your life in a way worse place than this. Diamond and Tommy get together and talk. They want to know if you heard anything from her brother. Diamond says, give it time. And said, what if we go after the king and chop off his head? This is them looking to make a play with Ortega. And then they said, told Vic, I need you to go and tap in with your favorite Fed. And this is Tommy setting the plan in motion to get exactly where Ortega is at and kind of get Ortega really off the map in another way than obviously trying to kill him. But anyway, Stacy and Donna from the DMC. This is just Donna saying they're very excited for her, but they want to know, do you have anything you need to be honest about? Anything, kids or employment or anything? How about Bobby? She said, are you sure there's nothing that's going to fuck us over later? And says, nope, Bobby's good. And all right, well, we're very excited for you to run for mayor. And after that, Vic is in there kind of chilling because I don't know why Vic wouldn't be standing out like
Sore thumb.
Sore thumb.
Criminal.
Yeah,
there's a criminal in here.
But they walk past it and whatnot. And this is where Vic says, like, hey, oh, well, she wants to know because she's catching up with Vic. What happened to the bug? Said, oh, he found it and he's blaming it on Shanti. And it's interesting because Stacy continues to drop it's something you would say in the recaps. It was like, how could Tommy think that when that actually hasn't happened? Like, we never work with Shanti. How could he be thinking that Shanti's a snitch? In this case, how could he be blaming Shanti, but he hasn't taken her out yet? And then he says, don't worry, it'll take time. Time will come. But anyway, I think this is less of a measure of obliviousness to Vic, but him still trying to make sure that if he convinces them that he's in the clear, this gives him a path out with the fans, but still not with Tommy. But okay, I digress.
Never with Tommy.
But anyway, he says, listen, Tommy is focusing on the cartel. He's going to go after Ortega next. And she says, well, unless I make it impossible for him to get to him. She picks up the phone. That moves him into solitary confinement.
Yep.
Now, this is the scene you were talking about. We got Diamond at the barbershop, and now he gets a flashback to previous events where he sees blood in the mirror and Tommy behind him. And then Jannard walks in, catches him in a trance and says, hey, you good, bro? And he says, that'll be better when D-Mac is dead. And he says, don't worry, that kill's going to happen. And he says, you got to get Tommy straight too. And Jannard is really upset about him taking that recon job. And then he also flips out about white boy gets to do whatever he wants to do. And this is just the conversation between the brothers in terms of, one, brotherhood, but also at the same time, like, what's the status of CBI? As Jannard says, like, I held this down for 15 years, And while Diamond says that Tommy helped to get it back on top, Jannard was right. Said, so did I, which is absolutely the first thing that happened in the first episode of this series, is that we find out that when Diamond went down, Jannard kept it reputable and is still one of the biggest gangs and organizations in Chicago. But anyway, he says, like, Diamond says, I'm working on building my own relationship with Che. And he says, at the end of the day, we got to ensure that, we take care of D-Mac for that Mad Dog. Oh, I'm sorry. This is what they brought up about D-Mac and why he did what he did. And Jannard tried to say, well, D-Mac did that for you. And he says, nah, he did that for himself. But there's two truths here, because he absolutely did it for himself, but he also did do it to impress Diamond. So, one way or another, like, it's a little bit of both there. Two truths there. And it says, listen, we got to go out to D-Mac now. And we got to ensure that it doesn't come back to Tommy. Otherwise, Tommy's going to turn all of this to dust. And we got to do this before King Kilo before he gets antsy, because he's going to want a body. What did you think? Anything else you want to add about the two brothers? Like a whole conversation about CBI and hierarchy and who did what and so on.
It is all about, all of this is showing exactly why Tommy can't trust Diamond. Under no circumstance can he trust Diamond. And that Diamond understands there's a time frame on this relationship with Tommy. If D-Mac ends up dead, Tommy's going to burn everything down no matter what.
Yeah.
And you are plotting to kill him. And Tommy, if Tommy even finds out that it's a plot to kill D-Mac, he's going to kill Diamond immediately. It is not going to be a hesitation in it at all. And I think that's the problem with this quote unquote relationship. And this is also playing into exactly why all of a sudden he's becoming more friendly with Jannard, which is something that Shanti notices. And that's why she always tells Jannard, you need to talk more with Diamond, get more comfortable around him. She even knows there's a time frame on Diamond and Tommy. But the moment you've decided for one person that you want to kill his nephew, you can't be business partners with him. Not that he can trust.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to become, something's going to have to slip up where Tommy finds out it's a threat on D-Mac. Because the moment he finds out, and he finds out anyone knew about it and didn't tell him, he's going to kill them before he does anything else.
Yeah, and then, let's keep it 100 here now. D-Mac went missing, and he scorched earth to find him at Marshall's place. Imagine when he doesn't find him. I mean, more other doors.
Exactly.
You know,
there's no way in hell his body could turn up somewhere, and you think Tommy's just gonna say, "Well, he's in the game and he died." Nope, it's not gonna happen that way. He's going to torture and kill his way to finding out what happened, and it's going to come back to them, and then that would be the end of everybody.
Yeah,
because at that point, Tommy won't even care about the business anymore.
Correct. Next, Tommy texts Shanti, says we need to make a move. You need to make a move on Becky, who we all know is Elise, who is Claudia's girlfriend. But at this moment, Miguel rolls up, damn near runs him over, and says, I know it was you. You the one that torched my warehouse. And beyond that, and his anger and his frustration, there was a quick exchange between the two of them. And it says, what if I told Maria what you've been up to? Which I have no clue what he's alluding to there. Tommy, with the bigger joker, says, what if I tell Che that you lost a year worth of product? And while there was an idea of killing Tommy right here, D says, you know what? Nah, we have to do it low key. And we all know what that means a little bit later on in this episode. Cruz was ready.
Both of them are scared to upset her in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, Cruz was ready. Just by the way, Cruz was ready to make it happen. But anyway, we get Marshall at a craps table, and I was like, what possibly could this scene be ready to kick off? Because I just don't understand. Why is my man Marshall at a craps table? And immediately comes in D-Mac without a doubt, and no one. I mean, was there?
Go ahead, say it, because it's the same thing I was wondering. This whole scene. You went to Chinatown
by yourself
for a craps game, and you telling me there weren't armed guards all around on this game?
Yeah, listen. I'm just gonna tell you, like, this was the most unbelievable scene, and the first thing I thought about was like, D-Wick. Well, that's definitely not his nickname.
It would have had to be his name to live out that scene.
And whatever the dude name from the movie, was it called The Monkey?
Oh, with Patel.
But yes. Was that called The Monkey? Yes. Monkey Man. There we go. Yeah. So you're not either one of those guys. I'm like, this one guy comes into an organization, underground betting with fentanyl just sitting on the table, massive amount of money, and he has one gun and he just holds it up. And I'm like, dog, first of all, there's a lot wrong here, because I can guarantee you on any given day there was somebody in it that was willing to die for whoever was running that place.
Obviously. Matter of fact, not one person, like 15. There's no way hell he should have gotten out of there. He shouldn't even been able to get in to the place, let alone out of the place.
I gotta tell you, listen, when they exit and after they do the whole thing, get all of that and walks Marshall out as his victim and whatnot, the person that says you're making a big mistake, I hope he capitalizes on that threat. I have never wanted. You know what? I ain't gonna even hold you here. This scene, the one person going in there and going in there and just, holding everybody hostage for their money, this felt like Fast and Furious. And I really hate to say that, but that's how unreasonable this scene was.
And then out of all the people you snatch as your
the black guy gets the black guy.
Yes. In an establishment run by Asians, you think they care that you grabbed another black person? They'd have killed both of you two. They could not have cared less about it.
And I can guarantee that Marshall has never shown his face in there before. So
miraculously, and this is supposed to be a high stakes crap game. Where Marshall get the money to even get into a place for that? Come on.
Yeah, bro.
Hey, it was just it's powerisms. That's all this was. It was just to show that D-Mac can do something that's unrealistic. Because that's all that was to me.
Yep. Moving on, we get Claudia and Elise, aka Becky, and they're in the jail. And this is just setting up what everybody wanted. It says, wow, at least says I'm not moving anything for CBI, and how you want to do business with Tommy and Shanti, how would that help you? But Claudia says, like, you have to do this. And then she says, I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe and get you back home. So whatever. Vic and Tommy. So we find out that Ortega's in solitary confinement. And now the attention turns to finding out what is Stacy's weakness. And did I say Vic? Yeah, Vic and Tommy here. Yeah.
Vic and Tommy, yeah.
Yeah. And it says, like, well, I did hear she's running for mayor. And Tommy says, I always wanted a mayor in my pocket. But he says, like, you got to go. I got to bounce. I start thinking about this, though. Tommy's never had a mayor in his pocket. Yeah, because when Ghost happens and he's out of there, that's when Tate comes. And I know that Tate was there before. Tate was still with working with Ghost. So, yeah, he's never really
working with Tommy.
Yeah, he never got to make any of those type of moves. So it makes sense for him to make a response like that. But anyway, D-Mac and Marshall. Marshall's pissed because he was hit so hard and I guess so legitimate for their fake little drug robbery that they moved.
Yeah.
And they got all this money. And the first thing the YND Mac says is, I'm going to cop me some wheels and pull up on my girl Genesis.
Of course.
And of course, Marshall responds back in a very YN response. That ain't your girl. She don't even text you back.
Exactly.
But anyway, the door knocks and Marshall makes a funny joke and says, man, everybody's got my air just now. Did you hear? And it's Jannar. Jannar finds out they hit a lick. They talk about the
YN.
the
grown
YN. Ray J said something so funny not that long ago. I think it's called the OBGYN. How did he say it meant? He said something like, I gotta find it out. If y'all know what it is, get us in the comment that. But Ray J made a funny statement about calling himself an OBGYN.
Because he's one too. He's an old YN too. So it makes sense.
I gotta let this out real quick. Hey, because I swear, Ray J is the funniest person on the planet. It is bar none.
He's the most unserious person in the world. That's this problem. And this.
Yeah. But anyway, Jannar comes in and he says, like, so I hit a lick. He's like, yeah, we want that. Did a craps game down Chinatown. And they also found out they had fentanyl. So, D-Mac think he bringing his money in the drugs, and that's going to get him back in the game. And then, Jannar lets him know straight up, like, hey, we got a lot going on. He gives him the Jannar talk. Exactly. You're just not on the top of our list. We got bigger priorities, so lay low. And of course, D-Mac looks pissed. Marshall energy looks down, but he says, CBI thanks you for your services. What did you make of Jannar once again laying down the truth to D-Mac, and his hopes now are once again low?
Finally, somebody is starting to tell this little kid the truth. Well, partial of the truth. He's not telling him the real reason CBI won't let him in is because they're planning to kill him. But at least something is like taking away that glimmer of hope of him thinking anything he do is going to get him with CBI. Like, that's what's needed, because D-Mac is being extremely reckless for no reason. And this was the wake-up call he needed from Jannar, telling him we have way more important stuff than you to worry about. But I'm going to eat your food and then take this money and this drugs from you. But that's not the most interesting part to me. Jannar was fiending over fentanyl.
Oh, we know. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. Oh, you knew it was coming. And I was going to give a scene or two. I was going to give it.
Fentanyl, not crack.
Yeah, it don't matter. He needs something
with fentanyl. No one says, let me take a shot of fentanyl. Like, no, never, ever.
Yeah.
I have so many questions there.
Ray J, OBGYN, an OG that been a young nigga. Yeah, we knew Jannar was going to be fiending. You didn't have to worry about that one bit.
I did not know he would be fiending for fentanyl. I've never seen somebody fiend for fentanyl.
Hey, man,
that's a crazy thing to fiend for.
He need anything and everything.
That's fiending for death, because there's no way you're getting a hit of that and not dying. Like, you immediately dead.
Tommy now is Tommy Diamond and Peter. They just Albanian says circumstances changes, and Tommy lets us know yesterday's price is not today's price, but they can negotiate something. They want to know, was Miguel be a problem? Says no, we'll work out something. We're the bigger problem. Now Vic goes to see Polly's wife Beth, and Polly's wife Beth is basically there, let him, just voice of reason. Here we go. There's somebody. It says like I tried to get out, but there was. There was a little bit of a problem, and this seems to be Vic's comfort place because he is kind of letting very honest, vulnerable feelings about everything. And he says, like, maybe it's too late for me. But he says, I'm really stuck between two devils. But Polly's wife, much like Polly, used to give Walter advice. Beth here to give Vic advice and says, well, if there's one thing I know, the Flynn's always finds a way. Now you need to figure out of the two devils, who is the weaker and the easiest to take out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I thought this was really dope because first of all, I'm wondering, when they said two devils, was it very evident on who the two devils were here?
To her?
To you. Who did you think instantly? You said two devils that he's stuck between.
For Vic.
Yeah, for Vic.
Stacey and Tommy.
Yeah. I was wondering for a minute. I was like, it's interesting because Claudia's not the two devils, but last season it was. Last season
Claudia's not even in the equation here.
Yeah,
I liked it more the way she even started. When she said, I thought I would never see you again. He's like, yeah, I'm trying to get out. And she says, oh, someone has their foot on your neck.
Yeah,
like it's immediately she picked up on what was going on with Vic, and that's what I liked the most about this scene with them two back to back, because he needs someone who has more experience in this business, because that's literally an issue with Vic from the get-go, is that he's not really experienced in how to handle business. He was forced into the position because he was the boy, but he was never the person who ran the business right. And then for her to give him the best piece of advice in the world is, you got two devils, find out which one is the weakest and take them out. Like, that's the best way to do it. Because if you take one of them out, you can normally get around the other one, but when there's two of them, you have no hope.
Yeah. Yep. So now Vic needs to decide of the two, who is the weaker, who's the easiest to take out. Which, we're gonna talk about in a minute.
He clearly knows who that is.
Shanti goes to see Elise and says, they're just going over the product and whatnot. Shanti doesn't feel Elise can do it, and Elise makes it clear that CBI needs her and explains why. And as I said, she basically talks about sort of this fail safe of an organization. If something happens to me, or the business stops, et cetera. She went over in detail, but Shanti says, like, listen, don't let Claudia get you hurt, because you're not her. And as a matter of fact, and Elise says, as a matter of fact, I don't need you. So Elise tries to prove that she can do it herself. Shanti doesn't believe it, and basically keeps an eye on her. But this is just them basically flexing muscle to one another about how they were going to run operations at the club tonight. Anyway, D-Mac rolls up on his bike, tosses girl Genesis, gets her a book so she can, do her things. He rides off with a willy with her. I don't think there's
he knows how to buy books, just not how to study them or read them.
I thought he was buying her a chain. He bought her a book. You know what? That's a stand-up young man there. That's a stand-up young man.
That's a YN trying to be special.
Yeah,
you ain't fooling me,
Joe. When you go to Spellman and get that education, read this, man.
You should have told him Spellman and see what he did.
D-Mac is supposed to be really good with numbers, and we haven't really get to see that really, utilized.
We saw it like one season.
That's it.
Season
1.
When he was working with Tommy.
3.
Yep.
Yep.
When he was working with Tommy, he was pulling numbers out his ass.
Yeah,
then nothing made sense with D-Mac.
Mm-hmm. Anyway,
he's supposed to be hiding out, and he bought a motorcycle.
Right. So anyway, he gets his bike, he rolls off with her and does a wheelie with her, which I thought was wild. Definitely some YN activity there. Yes. But Jannard now, he's in the car lurking, staking out. He looks at the package of the Kia Fetty really hard. Yes. think he wants it, throws it in the glove compartment, to get it out of sight. But anyway, he gets the shooter. He gets eyes on Mateo, who happens to be the Marquez Cartel that tried to take him out. So now in the club, we see things are moving. Lee seems to be having things okay until we have a little issue with one of the dancers, and somebody feeling like they got overcharged. And and the Elise handles it by saying, just listen, go get your refund and whatnot. But Shanti wasn't having that. She ends up finding out that homegirl was skimming off the top and beats her, heading to the locker, and lets Elise know that, I handled your problem, and maybe a measure of trust and understanding. But she said, like, listen, I solved your problem. So Shanti was just lurking the entire time, but says, like, one thing about you and Claudia, y'all both inexperienced, and that's gonna be y'all demise one way or another. But anyway, Tommy and Diamond, so they roll up on Mateo, and says, call your boss, Ortega. But they know he's in solitary, and it says, we know he took his burner, but we know he has ways of getting in there, getting a phone to him. Is either if you call him, either way, you're gonna be a dead man. But Ortega gets the burner.
Ways of our people getting him his phone back anyway.
Yeah. But Ortega, first look of Ortega, and he gets the burner, and Tommy's on the phone with him, lets him know he's next, and they kill dude over the phone, and once again. We have Diamond said, are you sure this is the right move? And this was Tommy saying, we need to make a message loud. And they proceed to hit a Dexter, cutting that body up. But again, this is Diamond ensuring or questioning Tommy about his move and asking, is it the right move? So what did you think of this scene of Tommy killing Ortega, killing Mateo, who's the Ortega hitman, and making it, loud, very and transparent over the phone, and then chopping his body up.
I mean, Tommy was right. It needed to be loud.
Yeah.
Because it was extremely loud when they went after Tommy twice. Like, so you have to make it loud. The people who are coming after you, everyone needs to understand. It's not just them that need to understand it. Everyone else needs to understand, if you come after me, this is what's going to happen to you. And I want to say we had this happen with CBI, with Diamond and Jannard in season 1, where something happened and it had to be, the response had to be loud, so you understood not to mess with me. Same exact thing here with Tommy. It's no, it needs to be loud. Everyone needs to understand that this ain't going to be allowed to happen. I was just more odd that, again, Diamond was questioning it. Like, that's a weird time to question that. But again, I'm a firm believer that this is going to end up in bloodshed anyway. So I think that's the reason Diamond's acting the way he is. Yeah.
All right, so Jannard and Shanti now having a little dinner date, only for Jannard next to what was that song? What was that song? Somebody braid my hair.
To my dream. Oh, you talking about Mario? Yeah, but someone was braiding Mario's hair. Jannard.
Jannard. Let me get it. Let me just get out. Let me just get ahead of this real quick. Fellas, it is nothing wrong with you taking your lady's hair out. But for the record here, Jannard was sitting up there looking real pretty. He had his legs crossed. He had his glass of wine next to him.
Man, when she asked him a question, I swore he said, girl. And he was
Hey, your boy, that's he gonna be working at Marquisha's shop,
Hey, look here, that whole scene there was wild. She's sitting down there looking very masculine as he's taking her braids out. Like, she had like plaits in her hand. She had 4 strands. Niggas out there taking out her 4 strands. And then when she stood up, that's what I mean by playing with camera angles. When she stood up, she's looking down at Jannard's, and he's still sitting there. I said, oh, they are really playing this properly. again, I love the way of use of camera angles to show like who's the dominant person in this relationship.
Yeah.
Like it was clear. And then we get the mention of the fentanyl. And why did she check for marks on people out there who do drugs? If you can help me out here. I don't use drugs at all. I just don't know no one who's shooting up with straight fentanyl. I've never even heard of that before. Because the moment he said, "Man, we got a pack of fentanyl," she went and looked at his veins and said, "Man, I told you, like, it's either me or that. You or fentanyl? Because if he was shooting up with fentanyl, he should be dead."
Yeah.
I have questions.
We'll let it
But
be.
he was a fiend. He was a little
Yeah.
fiend, though, the moment he got that brick in his hand.
Yeah.
And I just gave him credit for not sucking that dick last season. And he is right back at it again. Just gave him credit for it. Like, oh, man. we got to do better. But this scene is one of the funniest scenes. Black Twitter is going to erupt over Chanae braiding her hair like that. We're going to see. I'm waiting for the memes to come out. I'm waiting for that baby boy jump. $40. I'm waiting for that joke to come out of Chanae.
But yeah, Shanti let him know, like, listen, blood sticking in water, so make him hear you out. You know, and she's like, you know what? I guess, you know, I am backing the right brother here. And also just make sure you're not backing out from taking out your brother. And so we're gonna rule the world because that's really important to me. And said we did find out that the Che meeting is next week. And then they talk about D-Mac getting the fentanyl from the agent crew. And that's what, again, she's checking to make sure she's not on that, checking him and whatnot, and says, like, yeah, because I told you it's either me or the needle. But anyway, while Jannar thinks the idea of getting into the fentanyl game is the right idea, look at Shanti, you know, doing it for the community. Says, nah, because that's just going to equal more dead bodies, and more dead bodies means we don't have customers. I want to build, not destroy. I'm good. Moving on, we get Stacy having a drink, hitting a little bit of that bourbon. Neat. So you already know what time it is for her. Yeah, she getting ready to drop on it. Mary J. Blige playing in the background. You know what? I don't even want to spend time on this scene, honestly. But listen,
it's not much to talk about except for the disappointment.
Yes, Bobby comes in. Says I tried to call a few times and figure we should have this conversation in person. And he's like, all right, cool. Yeah, well, you know what? And they both declare that they still have love for one another and they just can't flush it, you know, over the years because of this case. But Bobby says, like, listen, yeah, you know, just make a promise to me that this ain't all about the campaign and you trying to have the perfect image because of it. And if it's not, and it's really about trying to get back together and work, I'm willing to go through it all. Everything. He laid out every option. I can't believe she choked. She couldn't give him 1 ounce of reassurance. I just want to say, and I'm damn sure ain't speaking from any personal experiences, but why has it got to be like that? Why did the man have to come in there? He served her, so you already know what time he is. He says, this is where I'm at. These papers tell you where I'm at. And I feel like, by way of the last conversation, she said she wanted to have a conversation. He's been trying to talk, by the way. That's her not paying attention. And you've been so focused on your statue, your promotion, the case, getting these people. You just failed to even realize that I'm right here. And everything is happening with me. So he done did the talking. And even with that, even to a man that was pushed to his limit to say he had to serve the papers, he says, all right, fine. If you really are sitting here declaring your love and you're really talking about, you know, we can't just throw it away and giving up, I'll do all of it. Therapy, counseling, whatever, yoga, Twitter. He said he'll do it. TikTok, he'll do everything.
All them TikTok dances.
But just tell me, is this about the perfect image for your campaign? Or is this really about us getting back together? And she couldn't say a word. And my man said, you know what? I think we all know what the truth is here. And he walked out the door. She tried to get like the Bobby, no. And he goes out there and sheds a little tear. Feels like an episode of Love is Blind. And that's it. Now, I have to say, because I doubt that that's the end of Bobby's story. It's going to be.
You know it ain't. You know it ain't.
And beyond her not having a perfect image now, which makes her a liability for being mayor. It's going to go one or two ways. Either she's going to threaten him to some extent, for whatever bit of position that she has and whatever position he takes next, since he says he's stepping off the task force, or does he start to expose her and start to show more chisels in her foundation and the people around her? What is your thought? Because I'm on edge with this one now. I'm trying. What's about to happen here?
First, I love this scene because this is the first time in Power where it's not the man that needs to take responsibility for his actions. That it's the woman. Like as you said, he laid out everything to her, and he filed papers and still came back and said, "Look here, if you want to work on this, and it's because you want us to be together, I'll do everything." So when she couldn't answer, I'd say, "See, King, just take your piece, King. Take your piece. Take your piece. You got to worry about her no more." But it is going to you bring up a very interesting question of how this dynamic going to work now. We know Stacy knows one way of doing things, and that's to control people. And she's going to do whatever she has to do to make Bobby come back into the fold. And it's going to be against his will. But in the end, I think that's what's going to lead him to turning against her. Like it's all of this is going to also play into what Shane is doing. I mean, Vic, I'm sorry. All of this is going to play into what also Vic is doing. So that's going to be what you need to look out for. As we already got the hint, go after the person who's the weakest. Right now, she's the weakest. And she's going to become weaker because of what she needs to do for the DNC to remain in this race for mayor.
Yeah.
And I think that's all of this is going to be exposed through it. And she's going to force Bobby's hand. And in the end, Bobby's going to end up screwing her over. Yeah. Well, not screwing her over, but getting peace. I should say, because he's not done anything wrong at all.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. Next thing we get Vic, he's at the bar and he's talking to Ray Thompson, who I don't know, maybe some people didn't realize who she was, maybe did, but she is the DNC representative assistant, rep's assistant.
And he goes when he was leaving office the last time.
So he's working on her, as he says his name is Jason Hooker under alias, and we're gonna see what he does there, but that's going to find out being able to get close and finding everything out or leaking things to her one way or another. We're going to see. Now, Miguel is at his place, and while he's there, we get introduced to, it looks like they have a mercenary who comes in.
Hitman. You want to see.
Yeah, because he wants to know, why am I being summoned by the most powerful Mexican in the city? And he says, well, I heard that, you are the best hitter on this side of the lake. And he has him tasked to take Tommy out. He cannot let the insane princess be anywhere near this. So we have now a mercenary on the loose to take out Tommy. Now, Tommy comes in to the coalition, wolfing head. And I don't even know if there's anything to really express here besides the idea that everybody from the coalition expresses concern with the Marquez Cartel, with everything with the elevated hits, and that the fact that he has this head and it wasn't just taken away, and they're making a statement about it. Now they feel, this white boy gonna get us killed. Chavo and his crew. From the Street Devils, they think this is going to be a problem. And man, did that one come quick? But at the end of this, I think besides Tommy, kind of showing that they are at the coalition together with all the major gangs in Chicago, they have the upper hand, and this is a sign of force of them showing so. But then after that happens, Jannard tells Tommy that he is the reason. That Tommy's the reason that all of this mess is happening right now.
I say first you got to go over the point that Jannard speaks to the coalition and they all trust him more.
Yeah.
Because that's huge.
Not even just that. Tommy was speaking. Jannard wanted to speak. Tommy tried to shut it down. Diamond said, let him speak. And Jannard went out there, did the rally cry. And the 300 soldiers are getting ready to go against Xerxes. and we're
Even
going to see
though
who
he
wins.
said nothing that Tommy didn't say. Literally said almost identical what Tommy said.
Yeah, well, actually, Jannard is Xerxes now, based on what he was doing in that last.
Yes, clearly. Yes. Yes. He's just missing all his rings and shit that Xerxes had. That's it.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, he gets everybody, he gets everybody rallied up, and we get everybody in line, and good. Everybody feels like they're good, and there's a good thing. But afterwards, as I said, Jannard was like, listen, this is all of this is the reason this mess with the cartels is all because of you. And to my surprise, Diamond defended him and also said he agreed that all of this is because of Tommy. And you wasn't supposed to roll up in here with Mateo's head. You were supposed to dispose of the body. And we better not let Che find out. Otherwise, it's going to come back to us. And I'm not willing to lose anything that we as in me and Jannard, built for nobody. So lines were drawn here. That's the biggest thing I take from that. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Otherwise, we come to our last scene.
Hey, that's the biggest thing I've been talking about is down to the way Tommy looked when both of them left. I think at that point, Tommy has made up his mind what's the next step going to be. Because any trust he had in Diamond is now gone. Yeah.
All right. Well, next in the last two scenes, Tommy and Maria got the painkillers for Bones. JP texts and says Kate checked herself out from the hospital and went back to New York. And then next we get Chavo and who is from the Division Street Devils. Him and his boys, they got ran up on by the Marquez Cartel, and Chavo was killed. Yep. Just as quickly as he says, man, this white boy gonna get us killed. Well, should have trust your gut. But
the white boy is the reason y'all together. Like all of this is because of Tommy. Like it's not like any of you had this plan before. It's not like any of you had this connect before him. He literally built all of this.
Yeah,
he's literally Tommy Saint. Shit.
Well, that's gonna do it for this episode here. Any other thoughts, comments, or anything from this episode?
This is gonna be interesting to see where this season is heading to. This really put a lot of things in focus. Yeah. And the focus is the division of this whole organization. Yeah. And I think that's the dope part with this being its last season is we're going to see Tommy tear apart the thing that he built up.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works all the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, next week, episode 303 is titled There's Always a Price to Pay. And the synopsis for that episode is, as Tommy does damage control with allies, Diamond and Jannard devise a plan to deal with D-Mac, and Vit plots his next move. So we're going to see what happens with that. But give us your thoughts, your predictions for next week, your thoughts for this week's episode. And y'all know the drill. Once this episode airs, come over here and kick it with us with the recap each and every week and be a part of the conversations in the comments below. Yeah, get in the chat, get in the whatever. Let us know whether you want to hit us on the socials or whatever. But definitely be a part of each and every week's conversation as we cover Power Book 4 Force each and every week for its final season. For us at the Culture Collective, we'll see y'all back. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see you back soon. Thank you, everybody.